Hello, and welcome to the March Market Update from Commonwealth Financial Network. My name is Brad McMillan. I'm Commonwealth's Chief Investment Officer. The only word I can say for the second month in a row is wow. Markets in February basically rocked. Here in the U.S., we saw all three of the major indexes rise substantially, capping a very strong run. We've seen markets around the world rise as well. Developed markets went up, not quite as much as the U.S., but still quite strongly. And emerging markets also did almost as well as the U.S. In other words, we're seeing markets around the world move up. And there are two questions we have to ask ourselves. The first is, why is this happening? Does it make sense? And the second is, will it continue? For the first question, why it's happening, it's because the economic news is good. Here in the U.S., we see consumer confidence at levels we last saw in the dot-com boom. We see job creation, we see unemployment levels at levels we last saw in the dot-com boom. We see the number of jobs, we see wage growth taking off. We see consumers willing and able to spend. And in fact, they are spending, which is helpful for growth and suggests it's going to continue going forward. As far as business and manufacturing goes, we see rising levels of business confidence. We're not yet back to boom levels, but we're on our way, and it continues to get better. In fact, we see business confidence levels at about the highest level we've seen since the crisis. What does this mean going forward? Well, with both consumers and business optimistic, we can expect to see the recovery continue and possibly even accelerate. As far as the markets go, all of this good economic news is also translated into corporate earnings, which are going to go up for the second quarter in a row for the first time in years and are expected to continue to accelerate as well. It's not just about the U.S. either. If you look around the world, if you look at Europe, for example, for all of the bad news we've had from there, for all of the very real concerns we have, growth has resumed. Europe is starting to grow again. If you look at other areas, if you look at Japan, if you look at China, again, there's still concerns, but most of the concerns that we had are not playing out. In fact, things are getting better. If you look at emerging markets, probably one of the biggest worries out there, they're actually doing better. The global recovery has actually pushed up demand for many of their products, which helps pretty much the emerging markets as a class. In fact, what's interesting is for the first time since the crisis, we actually see a synchronized global upturn. In other words, we have most countries, most regions, most areas starting to expand. And that's good for everybody. The more countries that are expanding, the faster all of them can grow. And we may be starting that kind of a virtuous cycle. Now, that's not to say there are no risks, of course. From an economic perspective, everything looks good, in fact, very good. But from a political perspective, there are very real risks out there. Europe, for example, or Japan or China. But at the same time, the politics are something that can be better managed than the economics. And in any event, most of those risks are international rather than domestic. So as we sit here in the U.S., we can look back on a very good month, and the prospects going forward remain encouraging. Will they work out that way? We will see, and I will talk to you next month. Thanks for watching.